we just got some big information regarding Season 2 for Street Fighter 6. Summer Games Fest had a lot more to the show than just the initial live stream with game announcements. Similar to E3, the press and content creators were allowed to get their hands on early access to some of the biggest games and expansions releasing this year, and Street Fighter 6 was among those games. Fellow content creator CuriousJoi had the pleasure to interview both the director and the producer of the game and gave some much needed insight and context behind the decisions made for not only Season 2, but for Season 1 as well. I'll have the full interview in the description below, along with all of CuriousJoi's social links. Make sure you check her out. To start off, Capcom addressed a big elephant in the room, their reasoning behind picking the characters they picked for Season 2. According to Nakayama-san and Matsumoto-san, the team is more focused on bringing in characters that are very unique gameplay-wise first and popular second. For further context, they aren't saying they wouldn't add characters due to popular demand, but rather they would like to add more unique characters rather than to oversaturate one archetype that already exists in the game. So to all the Sakura and Sea Viper fans, don't worry, y'all will still probably get your character. Character's country of origin also played a huge part. Before Elena, there were no character reps from Africa, and on top of her playstyle, it makes sense why they decided to go with her this time around. The devs also reassured us that Elena's most controversial super, healing, won't function the way you think, and not to worry regarding the balance behind it. To be honest with y'all, I can't even begin to speculate what they'll change with healing, but I'm pretty confident in Capcom making healing work in a way where it's not as annoying as it was previously, but also not useless. Now about Bison and his damn horse. Apparently he was not a last minute backpedal pick like everyone assumed he would be. Bison was planned for Street Fighter 6 a long time ago. So much so that Bison's inclusion actually affected who would show up in Street Fighter 6 Season 1. When you sit down and think about it, every character from Season 1 has a direct or indirect tie to Bison and Shadaloo in some way. Hell, even Akuma. They also said Bison's quote-unquote death in Street Fighter V lacks context that isn't fully explained. They didn't give too much information regarding his story currently and his whereabouts between Third Strike and Street Fighter 6, but if you're itching to know more, make sure to play that World Tour expansion when he drops on June 26th. Capcom also confirmed a few things about the Street Fighter 6 Fatal Fury collab. We also got some info in regards to how Terry and Mai's gameplay will work in Street Fighter 6. 2 years ago, back in 2022 at EVO Japan, Capcom and SNK actually had an art collab showcasing some pieces with the new gen Street Fighter characters versus some prominent KOF characters. That collab immediately set off alarms for every Capcom and SNK fan, but we weren't sure whether if it lead to anything. Apparently the decision to include Terry and Mai in Street Fighter 6 was made all the way back in February 2023, 4 months before the release of Street Fighter 6. Here's the big piece of news. It was also decided that Terry and Mai will both have unique mechanics from multiple different SNK fighting games on top of the Street Fighter 6's drive system. I personally expected Terry and Mai to have at least one mechanic from an SNK fighting game, but multiple on top of what already exists in Street Fighter 6? I'm not gonna lie, these characters is gonna be absolutely insane. I honestly can't wait. Giant Attack was also something mentioned and briefly discussed. For context, Giant Attack is a battle hub event where you can fight a powered up version of any playable character in Street Fighter 6 in exchange for in-game rewards. Akuma's Giant Attack is a perfect example of how these events would be handled. The devs said they cannot confirm nor deny whether or not if the events will return, but they did say keep an eye out for what's to come in Season 2. Basically, that was business language for yes, we're gonna do it again, but we cannot tell you when we're doing it at this current time. Giant Attack was a really fun and nice change of pace from the usual queue up for ranked and play matches, so I'm glad they are doing this again in the near future. Overall, this was a really dope interview. Shout out to CuriousJoi once again. If you want to check out the interview and the rest of her content, make sure you check out her links in the description below. And with that, all we have to do is prepare for Bison coming later this month and Terry following right after. Love every single one of y'all. Stay safe, peace, and love.